I'm not your father.
So you made a very fab romance film in Chicago called Return to Me. What do you recall about that shoot that was very Chicago-centric, at least how it felt to you? And what do you recall about the roster of character actors you work with, including the great Carol O'Connor and Minnie Driver?
Yeah, and Robert Loggia.
Yeah,
Um, well, first of all, Bonnie Hunt, a Chicago native, is a fabulously talented person who should be doing movie after movie after movie.
yeah.
And I'm not sure why she hasn't. Maybe she doesn't want to, but you know, if I ran a studio, I would say, Bonnie Hunt, what do you have, and how can I help you make it?
That's very nice.
I didn't work so much with Carol or Robert because that was kind of in Minnie's world, and
Right.
we were in separate. But I was honored to be able to meet them and to work with them, and the small interactions that I did have with them were wonderful. They were wonderful actors. And Chicago, I didn't really know Chicago before that. I still don't
Nice.
really know it that well,
Uh-huh.
but I think one of my favorite things, apart from making the movie, was where I was staying. It was right by this rec center, and I'd shoot some baskets, and I fell in with like a cop league, like a game that was all cops. And I actually went out a few nights with the cops. So they weren't in uniform, but
Right.
they were really friendly with me, and they took me out, and it was just a great kind of a Chicago
There
memory
you
for me.
go.
Is like befriending these basketball playing cops, and hanging out with them a bit.
So this is a specific question because of my interest in it and your association with it. So we just got
Yeah,
past the 60th anniversary of the JFK assassination, and one of your early roles was as Officer J.D. Tippit, Ruby, who was allegedly shot dead by Lee Oswald right before Lee was arrested at the Texas Theater. Now, I know it was a
yeah.
momentary part for you, but as a child of the 1960s, what is your opinion about Tippett's role on November 22nd? And do you believe Oswald was the gunman in Tippett's death?
I don't. I don't. I haven't given that much thought.
Okay. Sorry.
But I will say this. I will say this. My father wrote a play called The Trial of Lee Harvey Oswald that was on Broadway in 1967.
Uh,
So I know quite a bit about assassination lore and the Warren Report and all that stuff. And I mean, obviously, I was too young to really understand it, but it was something that was in discussion in my house. I was very well aware of all of it. But I never heard of Tippett until I did Ruby, until I did that movie.
uh,
I didn't. To me, that was all new. That was all news to me when
Interesting.
I did that movie, and I didn't really pursue it beyond that.
How
Yeah.
do your literary influences inspire your music, and how does your music influences inspire your authoring pursuits? And how does a man born in 1960 honor a generation in art that was between Boomer and X?
Yeah. Well, you don't think in those terms. I think you get
Right.
hamstrung if you do. I just try to honor what I feel is truth or beauty or whatever. In terms of music and prose, I mean, I think everybody loves a good musical epigram for their novels. I think Stephen King was really the first to kind of make that a cottage industry. And I do write to music sometimes, but I have found, to my chagrin, that if you want to quote more than two lines of a song, you have to pay for it.
Yeah.
And the editors and the publishing houses won't actually pay for it. It's up to the author to actually supply. And you're not dealing with humane artists. You're dealing with the publisher, so they don't care that this song means everything to your book. They still want their 15, 20 grand or whatever. And I'm like, I'll go find something in the public domain for that money.
Finally, is there a role or project that you haven't been considered for that you'd like to tackle as your career evolves and moves forward?
Well, I'm trying to make a a series, probably a streaming series of my novel Truly Like Lightning. So that's really, that would be an ultimate. You know, much the same way that being able to bring Bucky Fucking Dent to the screen, you know, from a novel, bringing it almost like a full circle or a different way of telling the same story, and being able to inhabit that world as an actor was really rich for me, and you know, really really potent, and I'd like to do that again.
This is Patrick McDonald for HollywoodChicago.com. Copyright 2024.